Hey dads, welcome to Father Figures, a podcast dedicated to you, a dad trying to manage and grow your business while being the best family man you can. I'm bringing together dads from all walks of life who live by the mantra, family first, business second. With guests and solo episodes, we'll dive into the lives of dads all over and hear how they manage being the best dad they can, what has worked, and what needs improvement. We'll discuss being a good spouse and role model and dive into the constant pull we have to grow our businesses and support our families financially while supporting them emotionally. Can't wait to have you on this journey. Let's jump in.
All right. So today I have the one and only Sean Lentz joining us for one of our first Father Figures podcasts. So bear with us. I don't think either of us really know what we're doing, but I think there'll be some good conversations around being a dad, being a business owner, and being a great spouse, or one that needs improvement on both of our ends. We're not exactly sure yet. Our wives aren't on this call, but there's always going to be room for improvement. So that's what I really wanted these podcasts to be, just raw, unscripted, other dads talking to other dads and hopefully sharing some good insight. So Sean, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit and we'll take it from there.
Well, first of all, I like the optimism. No exterior judgment from our spouses. So, yeah, we're doing great, right?
Even though mine was just here teaching us how to
Yeah,
record this, because I don't have any
exactly.
clue what I'm doing, but yeah.
That's all right. So, my name is Sean Lentz. I am a father of three. My wife and I have been married for 7 years. My daughter, she's 6. I have a 4-year-old son and a now 2-year-old son. And I'm also a business owner. I own a real estate brokerage in southeastern Wisconsin. We have currently 27 agents that work for the firm, and that's my full-time gig. I am constantly on the run with the business and also do, in addition to the real estate business, also own investments and some side hustle stuff that I keep myself busy with. And in addition to the business, in addition to the family, I'm an avid outdoorsman, so I have to carefully and strategically figure out
Uh-huh.
those ways to part from work, to part from the family, to also get a little me time doing the fishing and the hunting stuff a little bit, because for our own sanity, it's now more not even about the fishing or hunting. It's maybe just about the mental clarity you get when you're alone on
Yep.
the water or in the woods, right? As you
Yep.
know, as an outdoorsman yourself.
Yeah, I'd say give us about 3 weeks and we'll be chasing walleyes.
That's right. That's right. 'Tis the season for sure.
I know. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to that. I didn't realize you guys had 27 agents. When we first met, it had to have
Mhm.
been 8 years ago,
Okay.
7, 8 years ago we met,
So
probably.
I've been in the business now since I've been 19. I started, worked with a brokerage, worked for that brokerage for 4 years, and then I worked for another local brokerage in West Bend, and then I started Excel, and that was 10 years ago this year. And yeah, progressively have started to build up the agents and the team. 2 years ago, we affiliated with a larger, actually worldwide brokerage called EXP. We still run Excel
Yep.
as Excel. It's our own entity here in southeastern Wisconsin, but have an opportunity to bring other agents into the corporation, even though they're not under the umbrella of Excel.
Yeah.
Um, so which is really cool. It gives us other opportunity to network, not only in Wisconsin, but also throughout the country. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, directly through Excel now in southeastern Wisconsin, there's 27 of us. So
Wow. That's crazy. And so Nova's 6, right? When does she turn 7? It's coming up, right? And
yeah, in
what month
September.
is that coming out? September. Okay. So in the last, call it 6.5 years, where were you guys 6.5 years ago, business wise? Because I guess we'll kind of jump into that because you got 3 kids, 6.5 and under. When your youngest was born, sounds like you guys took a big step with the affiliation thing. but what has all happened in the last 6.5 years, kind of tying the family side of things with craziness of 3 kids plus business growth?
Yeah. It's been an interesting roller coaster. I mean, not only for myself transitioning into fatherhood, but also for my wife, even when we first started dating, being married, and then transitioning into children, because she was thrown into the world of not a 9 to 5 guy. In a world of, hey, it could be relatively slow, and then it's like, I don't see you for 2 weeks because you're gone at 7 and you're back at 9.
Yep.
So for the longest time, I just ran my business myself and kind of the team business, trying to, assist our agents. And I also have a partner in the business to try to become better, to do more. Um, as the agents are the pillars of our company as itself, to try to get them to become better at not only their jobs, but also salespeople. And what I have found is that I actually needed to step back a little bit, because not only was I completely engulfed in the business, which is always, surrounding you when you have your phone next to you, when you have customer and consumers needs and requests at all hours of the day, and sometimes that falls from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. And I never disconnected from that. Upon having kids now, 6 years of that, I found the importance, not only for myself but also for my wife and the kids, to disconnect from work and my phone, and even if it's for a few hours throughout the evening, to be present. Because even if your phone's next to you and you're subtly answering questions, you're not mentally present. And my wife could for sure notice that, but also my kids. It's like, dad, 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 dad. So I had a kind of clarification, because my wife really called me out on it. She's like, hey, like, you need to be more present and just put your phone away. So now I typically don't answer or even pick up my phone until about 9 o'clock in the morning. And from the hours of about 5:30 to 8:30, I put my phone away and try to be very connected with the kids and my wife during that time. So
That's huge. What was that conversation like with your wife when she kind of called you out? How did you take
yeah,
it?
and she did just
Did you
that.
take it good, or would you have done something a little bit better?
Oh no, I
'Cause I
almost
know
took
how
offense
I
to
would
it.
act,
Yeah, I almost took
but
offense to it, because I
Mhm.
came, like, when she called me out, I got defensive, saying like, well, you don't understand. You,
Yep.
I have so much going on, and I need to just keep, I'm very good on communication with my clients and always being responsive. But
Mhm.
99% of the time, they don't need communication from me within 30 seconds or 5 minutes or
Yeah.
10 minutes. Like, a couple hours can go by. And I think even that, giving the people I'm working with the heads up, even the transparency of like, hey, if you ever try to reach me during these hours, I won't be available. So actually making that transparency up front to my clients, agents, and everybody almost actually demands more respect, because they're like, hey, we get it, right? And I never did that until recently. And not only was it for them, but also for me. Like, the morning is for me. It's
Mhm.
I'm up at 5, I go to the gym, I come back,
Getting
and then
that
it's
cold plunge?
uh, about 2 or 3 times a week still, but I do the
Okay,
gym every
okay.
day. I go to the gym every day from about 5:30, and I'm back at 7:15. So that's like me time of just
Yep.
no distractions, and it's great. The rest of it's work, the rest of it's family.
Mhm.
So that's big, of committing to a schedule for myself, for work, and for family, and
Mhm.
not deviating from that. Because I found, even before, even a couple of years ago, especially during COVID, it's like, I'm not a morning person. Hate mornings, actually. So
Yeah.
I'd try to go in the afternoons. I'd try to go to the gym midday, and it was just the inconsistency to it was frustrating for me. And then too, if you're going to the gym at 4:30 in the afternoon, like, you're taking an hour and a half away from family time or work. So I'm like, you know what? I'm sticking to the morning
Mhm.
routine, and once I really got used to it, my body got used to it. I love it.
Mhm.
I love it. So I'm not changing from that at all.
It is, it's weird, like that sacrifice that you have to have to take in the morning and just say, yeah, you can't. I've talked to so many guys about this too, like trying to work out in the afternoon. Your kids get home from school at 3:30, and I think our generation is much different on the time that we spend with our kids. Like, I don't know how it was with you growing up, but my dad got home at 5:30, 6 o'clock every night from work. Like he was gone in the morning. Mom was getting us ready for school, and then he was home at 6 for dinner.
Yep.
And it worked. It worked in those days, obviously, with how we turned out. I like to think I turned out all right. My wife might say something different, but it's like our generation, we want to be able to spend that time where if we're not being productive in business work and making money, then we should be having that time spent with family. And it's that sacrifice in the morning hours that sometimes I end up sleeping in, and I'm like, I didn't get my workout in and didn't do what I wanted to do, but
And you almost
I'm
feel
not going
worse, right?
to. You do. You have that like little guilt thing, but it's like I'm not
Yeah.
going to work out then at night because I'm going to spend time, or I'm going down to the basement gym at 8:30, after Sawyer goes to bed, and I'm all wired up and I can't fall asleep, and then it's just a cycle that you get
Yeah.
into.
Yeah.
So
And with my parents, it was the same way. My dad was a salesman, right? He owned a car dealership. My mom owned her own business. So you're a product of your surroundings. And at that time too, like we didn't have family dinners. It was
mhm.
very unstructured. It was the TV dinners and on the floor in front of the TV, right, with the little
Mhm.
pop-up trays and
The little
not very
metal ones.
structured. We had the little wooden ones.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yep. So we were very disconnected from kind of that family time as well. But we didn't know any different just because
yeah.
that's just how it
That's what had
was.
to
And
happen.
yeah, not that it's wrong, but now there's a lot of education out there, and I've become very, very much of a student to learn to try to become better.
Yeah.
And I say that I'm a hypocrite because I'm still learning. I'll still always be learning, and I think that's a good thing. But
Mhm.
both from being a good husband to being a good
Mhm.
father and learning to provide structure for your children because they are what they see. And I'm still really trying, and I'm quite a reactionary person when it comes to the kids. So sometimes it's my tone, sometimes if it's reacting to the way they're acting. I catch myself, or my wife catches ourselves, like, you can't be yelling, because then they see that as a product of how they should act when they get
Yeah.
frustrated or mad. And then it's like when something happens in Knox or Nova or Hayes, is like they start yelling. It's like, why are you yelling? And it's like, oh wait, it's because you
Yep.
see us doing it. So it's like looking into the mirror of these teeny little humans of yourselves. And one
Yeah.
thing I've taken from a few podcasts or videos I've watched is, especially for my daughter, I know you only have your one son, but
Mhm.
how I treat my wife is how she expects to be treated when she's older by her partner
Mhm.
at some point. So I've become very conscientious of that, especially around the kids, right? Of showing my wife love, my tone, dating my wife, and even now, like, I don't want to say once a month, but for sure once every other month, like I'll take Nova on a date, just her and
Mhm.
I,
Yeah. Oh,
to a
that's awesome. I love
restaurant,
that.
sit down, and treat her like she should be expected to be treated.
Mhm.
Therefore, hoping that she has those expectations as she grows older of like, this is what I want, right? I don't know if it's true or not, but they always say, like, as a woman growing up, or as a woman when they start to date, they seek someone like their father, right? So hopefully,
Mhm.
15 years down the road or whenever that is, that
Yep.
she makes good choices so that I can be a proud dad.
Yes.
We'll
There you
see.
go.
It's a work in progress.
Yep.
So
Yeah. I agree with that, and I think from me growing up on my side, I had two older sisters, but my dad, same way. He treated my mom amazing. Like I I sit back and I'm like, I don't really remember them fighting unless it was one of us was, being an idiot or something, and one of them got upset with us type thing. But there really wasn't any fighting, and it was the same thing of like as I grew up then, it's like I treat people, women just like how my dad treated my mom, and that's how I've always treated Julie or tried to treat Julie. And now it's scary as it is, now it's my turn and it's our
Yeah.
turn to now teach our sons how to treat women as well with the most respect. And I talk to Sawyer about this all the time. Even like girls at school, like the boys will play rough and stuff, and it's like, Sawyer, you don't push a girl at school. I don't care if you're 7 years old. Like you don't do that.
Right.
And it's like, just, it's a respect thing. And it's a lot of weight sitting on the shoulders to be like, gosh darn it, now it's my turn to do this.
Exactly.
Like, I
Yeah.
have to try not to screw this up. But like, from those dates with Nova, like what are you seeing from like her reaction to him?
Oh, she loves them.
Yeah.
She absolutely loves them. And I try to make it playful.
Mhm.
We'll go out and we'll have a steak dinner, right? Her
Mhm.
too.
Yep.
And I just try to make the time with her very intentional, very focused. Like, and she's sick, so it's hard to have like deep conversations with her, but asking her questions outside of the normal, how was your day? What's going on at school? And my kids are especially Nova, my 6-year-old is very involved in sports. She's in 4 sports currently, so she's very active. And one thing that, it's like, if I would have known that when I was younger, I could have been X, right? Like hindsight, for everyone says the exact same thing as they
Mhm.
adult, and as they should, right? That's, they're growing, they're learning. Is I really, really hope to instill confidence and being charismatic, because people are attracted to people that are nice, that are charismatic, and they like to be around because they have an energy and an aura to them that attracts people, right?
Mhm.
I mean, not only just for everyday life scenarios, but for work scenarios, dating scenarios. Those kind of people who have that high level of energy
Mhm.
stand out. And maybe for
100%.
some people it's just natural, but I also think some of that is also learned.
Mhm.
So even being charismatic, paying compliments, being high energy, like that can be taught. I feel it can. And doing things with discipline, especially from a young age, creates the confidence and understanding the fact mentally of like, I did something that was hard and I didn't quit, makes you stronger mentally.
Mhm.
And I'll see it hopefully in their academic life, but also in their sports life, that giving up is not an option. Saying I can't isn't an option. Doing hard things is what we do.
Mhm.
So
What is it? The lenses don't quit.
we don't quit, we do hard things. That's right.
That's
Absolutely.
what I love. That's what we preach to Sawyer too. It's that, how do you balance the blend though between pushing kids to be their best, especially young kids?
Yeah,
'Cause I agree with you that confidence and charisma will serve kids. I mean, into till they're 100 years old. Like, if you're not able to have that social interaction with people and people are attracted to you, it does it. It makes things tougher.
absolutely does. Absolutely does. I mean, right now, like we do not push our kids at
Hmm.
all. Um, we don't like to live vicariously through our kids through sports that we enjoy or stuff like that. So we want them to do a variety of things, and then eventually, as they get older, they can themselves start to narrow down what they like, what they enjoy, and what they're passionate about.
Hmm.
But the one thing that we are I specifically am very adamant on is like skill is one thing. So, for example, Nova plays hockey. Okay, skill is something you get over time. So the one thing that I tell her every single time, and the only thing that she can control is her effort. I'm
Yeah.
like, if you're going to be out there and just playing around, I want you to be giving your effort, because that's the one thing you can control. You can't control that you're not as good as the next guy next to you. Not right now. You can't control that you're not a better stick or puck handler than the 2 boys next to you. But the one thing you can control and you're aware of is how much effort you put into paying attention, how fast you're skating, how tired are you getting, but how hard are you trying. So that's the one thing that I really try to preach. It's easier said than done, because I'm like that stereotypical hockey parent in the stands, like yelling, like, "Why are you just skating around? You look like a knucklehead. Like, go!" you know. So That's the
Oh,
only
it's like
thing.
watching kids soccer.
Yeah, that's the only thing right now, because they are still very young, that I'm trying to be quite adamant about and make sure that they're aware of if they're doing something, they should be doing it with
Mhm.
100% effort.
I love that. Sawyer had his taekwondo testing the day before his birthday, so earlier this month, probably 2 weeks ago. So taekwondo testing, there's 60 kids that are in the dojo, as it's called, and they all line up in lines, and the youngest are up front, and the oldest go in the back. And Sawyer was right up front, and there's five of the masters that sit at a table and judge as you test and as you do your moves, and then as you break boards and all that type of stuff. He got so nervous, I thought he was going to throw up. He turned white. He was trying to watch, and he lost the focus of, he knows all the moves, he knows what to do, like he can close his eyes and do it, but he got in his head and he was trying to watch everybody else, and everybody else was messing up. And so he got to be like this little product of his, surroundings, and he started to mess up even worse. And then his head, and got in his head. But he stuck it out there for 45 minutes, 50 minutes, white as a ghost. And he got done, and he was like a mess. But we told him, we're like, Sawyer, we are so proud of you that you did not run off that mat
Yeah.
screaming or crying. Like, you stuck it out, even though, did you do the moves right? Like, you did some of them right, but it was a lot of stress on, a little kid being out
Yeah.
there. And I told him, like, dude, that effort that you put in, even being out there and going through it, the his master at the Master Lee at the taekwondo that he goes to ended up passing him, and he said to him when we went back in, he's like, the effort that you put in and the confidence that you were able to keep going even though it was really, really tough, was the main reason why you passed. And so then he lights up, because he's like, oh, it's the effort. It's not, am I doing
Yeah.
it perfect? I mean, it's just like being a dad, being a husband. It's like, you're not going to be perfect, but just like getting on these podcasts, like I'm starting here, and bringing awesome guests like you on, or listening to self-development stuff like the Tony Robbins, you and I are big fans, and all the other guys that we listen to. And it's that effort of always trying to get better. We're never going to be perfect, just like our kids are never going to be perfect, but that effort is huge. And once you start
Absolutely.
giving up, like once you start quitting and things, it's just, that's a spiral of a disaster, I think.
I 100% agree. And I think it almost becomes, then it's something that's acceptable. If
Mm-hmm.
it's acceptable at a young age to say, well, I don't like this, or I'm not going to put the effort in, right? It's okay to walk away in
Yeah.
certain scenarios. Or if he would have walked away, I'm not saying it's okay. It wasn't okay, but
Mm-hmm.
just the fact that he stayed there every single time that same situation comes up, he now has a little bit more confidence, a little bit more comfortability to
Mm-hmm.
do it where he's not getting in his own head, even though if you would put him in the next room with no one around him, he could do this stuff with his eyes closed, right?
Yeah.
So, like anything, it's repetition. The more you do it, the more confident and comfortable you become doing it. But now you put yourself and immerse yourself into a surrounding that challenges you, and other people are watching, and now I'm nervous. That takes repetition. And
Mm-hmm.
it's easy to say, like, oh, you should just have confidence, but confidence comes over time. And that's something that really has to be built. And I mean, I didn't do traditional sports as a kid, but I did race, motocross, and I swam, and both were individual sports. So I had one person to blame if I didn't win, or if it didn't go my way, or the way I anticipated it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in a roundabout way, that's how I learned, because it wasn't team sports where you could easily point the finger of, oh, that guy didn't do his job, where
Mm-hmm.
it was right back at you.
Yeah.
So
What are, like, when you and Jess talk about parenting together, because I think that's super important. Like as dads, we always have one way that we think we should be parenting. Is that something you and Jess actually talk about as far as like these situations that are coming up with the kids? Do you talk about it before you talk with your kids? Is it more of like a, hey, this is what I told them? Like, how do you guys work as a team as far as parenting?
Yeah, a lot of times it's maybe not in the moment. We won't like step aside and say like, here's how we do this, but we'll definitely have conversations in the evenings and say like, hey, this is how I would prefer to have that done, or what are your thoughts on this? Um, One of the biggest ones that Jess has consistently called me out on is, especially with my boys, it's like, stop crying. Like, you're crying for no reason. Is giving
Guilty.
them, like, you don't always need to be like this tough guy.
Yeah.
Is like letting them have their emotions, like let it, like, hey, it's okay. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's okay to feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's completely foreign to me. I was in the environment always of like, oh, don't be a wimp, don't cry. Like, we don't have emotions that you're showing because that shows weakness, right? So that's all I knew. So consistently was like, stop crying, get up, and kind of treating them like the same way I was treated, where she's like, dude, like, don't like let them feel that way. It's okay to have those feelings. If you want to cry, cry it out. But then
Yeah.
afterwards, kneel down next to them, get on their level, and say, like, well, like, why are you feeling that way? Have a conversation with them to understand why they're feeling that way. And under the same breath, there's still things that I'm pretty adamant on. So, for example, Hayes, our 2 year old, we try not to have him, or even Knox at points,
Mm.
call out to us when they can do them things themselves, right? Like just taking the
Oh yeah.
shortcut. So, for
Yep.
example, Hayes, like he'll fall all the time. Like he walks, but he'll fall, and then he'll cry to get us to pick up. Like I refuse. I will not pick him up. So we'll be walking wherever, right, in public, around the house, wherever. He'll fall. He'll start crying. It's like it's okay,
Yep.
but you're picking yourself up. Like you can stand up. You're very capable of it. You don't need me picking you up.
Mm-hmm.
So in instances like that, that's where we draw the line and say, no, like if you're capable of doing something yourself, you're doing it. Even if you're
Mm-hmm.
going to have a meltdown, like you figure it out, because
Yeah.
we're not always the ones that are going to be there for you to help pick
Mm-hmm.
you up.
And I assume you did that with your two older ones too.
Not Nova.
Okay.
No, and not
First
for
one got the little
specific.
special treatment.
Yeah, not like it wasn't even intentional. It was like it was
Yeah.
just something I think I heard online,
Okay.
or again through someone. I don't even recall where, but it wasn't just because she was a girl. No, it was just because I really, in the line of parenting, I didn't
Yeah.
hear that before.
Yeah. You start to learn it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting too. I mean, having three, now I get to look at it and kind of judge myself after the
Mm-hmm.
fact, where it's like, all right, the first one, it's like they're glass babies, like you're the helicopter parent, right? Like nothing can touch them or get in their way or get them dirty or fall down. And then just by circumstances of life, you throw in a second one, you can't devote all your attention to the first one
Mm-hmm.
now. So you're kind of multitasking. So they kind of get away with some stuff. They're not, demanding your attention all the time. You're split up a little bit. And then with the third one, it's like you two kind of figure your stuff out. Like, yeah, baby, like hopefully you can figure your stuff out. And what I have seen as a product of that is our 2 year old, the third kid, is for sure tougher.
Yeah.
He doesn't call out for our attention and for our need, because he's kind of just he hasn't been coddled his
Yeah.
entire 2 years of his existence, right?
Yeah.
And I truly think that is just because we couldn't. Like we're going other ways. We got two other ones that are trying to get our attention, and he's
Mm-hmm.
just like, all right, well, he's more sufficient than the other two were for sure at his age.
Yeah.
For sure, the toughest one.
Yeah.
And plus, then too, Knox and Hayes will fight often, or they'll push each other around. Yeah, he's just become the toughest by his surroundings. Like that's his environment. He's just, like fittest wins, right? Survival of the fittest here. So,
Survival of the fittest at the Lentzes. I like it.
yep.
I
Like,
like
and
that.
now too, like, it's interesting when one of them will get hurt or they play around, they know that if they, mom, dad, and we come to their attention to break it out,
Mm-hmm.
that's their get out of jail card.
Yeah.
We will literally let them fight now. Like, not, especially Noxie
Yeah.
Nova, the 6 and 4-year-old. If they're fighting,
Yeah.
have at it. One of
Yep.
them gets hurt, whatever. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a right way
We'll figure it out.
to do that, but we're like, nope. Even though we're in the same room, we're like, nope, don't call for our help. Figure it out. Figure it out. So it creates chaos,
Yeah.
but they know they're not getting, you know, like picked up off the floor because one of them
Mhm.
kicked the other one, and all of a sudden the other one kicked them back, and now they're the ones crying. It's like, you started it, so I'm not here for you.
I mean, I look at that and I'm like, it's skill building in so many ways, from conflict resolution to standing your ground. I know I don't know. Sawyer and I wrestle all the time. You know, he just wrestles, jumps all over me type thing. I'm like, I think for little kids, I think that's really important. Obviously, they just have tons of energy. Like, I think we both like listening to the same guy, Jordan Peterson. He talks about kids and how they should just run until they're exhausted. They literally should just tip over asleep. And I don't think they get enough energy out. So it's like they have all this built up energy. And if you're constantly trying to correct them and say, you know, no fighting, no doing stuff, it's like that's how they're learning and how they're burning energy.
Yeah.
Like, if they get hurt doing something, like the chances of them getting severely hurt wrestling around in your house is probably pretty low. Corners are usually taped off with padding for little
Yeah.
kids and stuff, which we never had. I mean, I think we're much nicer parents than our parents' generation. But figuring out how to, you know, if you're wrestling around with someone and you get hurt, maybe I won't do that again. Kids
Oh
will
yeah,
still
they'll learn
do it
quickly.
again, but they'll figure it out quicker than not.
Absolutely. What's
And
his saying? It's allowing them to do dangerous things carefully.
yeah,
Right?
yep,
On their own.
yep.
Worth your guidance if need be, but
Mhm.
that absolutely teaches them. Like if they fall down the stairs, which has happened with all of our children, it's only happened once. So they have learned their
Yep.
lesson. And it's
Oh,
no different than anything.
I'm trying to think. I probably fell down the stairs once at our house too when I was a kid. Sawyer has not fallen down the stairs yet at our house. He always like reads books or he's carrying something down, and it's like, dude, you are gonna fall one of these times. He's always trying to do something on the stairs, but he hasn't fallen yet. I fell down the stairs once when I was a kid, and we had metal railings along both, and then a hardwood floor on the bottom with a drywall. You know, it basically went right into a hallway, and that hurt really bad.
Oh yeah. Well, if
Yeah.
he hasn't done it yet, and he's what, 7 now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's out of the woods and falling down the stairs already.
Yeah, I don't know. They're still clumsy. They're still clumsy. But the idea of those kids wrestling and playing around is super important. I think you and I both kind of agreed and I think we both kind of mentioned this, of like, we want our kids to stand up for themselves. So we always say to Sawyer, like, we will never bully, but we will never be bullied. And whether that's a son or a daughter, I think that is incredibly important. And like you said, if the kids are wrestling around, like, Nova will be able to hold her own and just like the boys. But it's never being a bully, it's never initiating anything, but you sure as heck can finish it.
Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah.
you got to be able to stand up for yourself. And if you're too busy being coddled at home and you don't know how to stand up for yourself, it's a delicate line, because it's that idea of, it's, you know, one of my favorite sayings, and I say it all the time. I'm like, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
Yeah. I've heard that from Jocko Wolnick on one of his podcasts.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's very, very true. Right. And again, it all still comes back to, right? They have to have the confidence, self-awareness. They have to
Exactly.
believe in themselves. And it's not often that kids are put into that situation that
No.
I've seen in my own
Yeah.
kids' lives. Obviously, I can't speak of anyone else's but mine. But
Mhm.
creating an environment where they start to build their own self-confidence and
Mhm.
security of like what they're capable of,
Yeah.
and just having the awareness that that is the line. Like you never be the bully, the person picking on people, because that's
Mhm.
unacceptable.
Yeah.
But also too, like
Period.
as you said, if it's happening, there also has to be a line of like, that's enough. This is where it ends. You
Mhm.
know, and not saying that it has to get physical, but
No.
you know,
No,
standing
that
up
doesn't.
to
Yeah. That.
confrontation
Yep.
in itself is an admirable trait to even have the confidence to do so
Mhm.
in
Yeah.
looking that eye to eye, right?
Yeah. That's a good
So,
point. Yeah. And I meant to kind of mention that. Yeah. It does not have to be physical. It's the confidence to stand up and say, stop picking on my friend. Like,
mhm,
what you're saying is mean,
yeah,
or whatever. But that, I don't know. I feel like that's super important.
yeah. So, speaking of Jocko Willink, like I actually read the book that he wrote. It's called The Warrior Kid.
Yeah.
To Knox and Nova, which is awesome, right? It's this like long story short, it's this wimpy little kid, doesn't have confidence in himself. His uncle Jake comes to live with him for a summer, and they work out. They learn how to swim. This kid was bullied at school before because he couldn't do a pull up. So
Hmm.
all these things that with Uncle Jake, immersed him in, not only made his skills better, but also gave him the confidence in himself. And then obviously, of course, as any good ending hero book like Cell would end, they go back to school. He's a stronger, has more confidence, stands up to the bully,
Hmm.
not in a physical way. And then come to find out, like the bully was actually a nice kid, but he too was a product of his surroundings at home, and
Yep.
that's how he was treated. And they actually became friends and had like looked out for each other. And the bully, like the king of the playground, wasn't that anymore, and he helped the bully to understand that like that's just not how you interact, even though that's how you thought it was. It's a
Hmm.
great book. The kids loved it.
Yeah.
Um, so there's things like that hearing that consistently, and then also being pushed physically in sports, or in things that even academically, like we now kind of have this system in our house, like if you want something, you have to achieve it. You have to
Hmm.
do something to the goal is the thing you want, right? So for example, Nova left like this mermaid doll at a restaurant, and I'm like, I am not going back to get it. Sorry, it's your responsibility, your fault, it's gone.
Yeah.
And she lost her mind.
Oh,
And we said,
yeah.
well, listen, like if you want another one, mom and dad will buy you another one, but here's the rules. So we bought it and we put it on the shelf, and she could clearly see it.
Yeah.
And it took like 3 weeks for her to do it. Just her and I both forgot about it a little bit, but the deal was you do 100 push-ups and 200 sit-ups, and when you've achieved that, then you can get that.
Yep.
Okay, so like before school we'd do 10
Yep.
push-ups, 20 sit-ups, and it's like, oh my gosh, like 100 like push-ups, that's so many. Yeah, if you do that once, it's a lot,
Yeah.
but 10 a day for 10 days is 100. That's not hard at all.
Yeah.
So she understood that it was her responsibility. She lost it, and her responsibility to put in the effort to get
Hmm.
that then, right? And it's not always physical. Like if the kids do a lot of it too, and it's not even about stuff. Like I don't like material stuff for the kids because they have enough of it now. But like Urban Air was the most recent one, that little trampoline park by us.
Oh, yeah.
They wanted to do it. Both of them had to read 2 books. So as soon as they were done with the books, then they've got to the point where like, hey, you've earned it. Now you can do said event, right?
Yep.
Or whatever experience it was. So we've been pretty conscientious about like, hey, whatever the reward is at the end, you have to do something to achieve it.
Hmm.
So,
We stole from you your tip on um, the coin jars,
oh, the marbles.
the marbles. So I
Yeah.
I end up using coins because I didn't have marbles. But there's 50 coins in one jar, and then there's another jar that I labeled bank. And every time Sawyer does something that goes above and beyond what he should be doing. So he should be getting up in the morning, brushing his teeth, putting on his clothes, blah, blah, blah. But if he brings, a dirty dish down from upstairs on his own and sets it in the sink, like, all right, that's above and beyond. You got to go put a coin. He helped a friend at school. He got, they get these little tickets when they helped a friend, or like an act of kindness type thing.
Mm-hmm.
He gets to move a coin over. And so that's been really fun because he gets to choose the experience. So again, it's
Nice.
not a material thing, but it is an experience. And
Now, has he gotten to it yet? The
yes,
50?
yeah, he's gotten 2 of them already.
Okay.
So the first one to get to 50 coins, we went down to the Museum of Science and Industry in
Oh,
Chicago. So
cool.
we took the
Yep.
train down there for the day. Did that, which he loved. That was an amazing place for kids. And then the second one, he wanted a sleepover at his grandma's house, which he
Win-win,
does already,
buddy.
but he was just so fired up. He's like, I want that as my next one. I'm like, that's fine.
Yeah.
And so now
The
he's
only thing that
working
I
around
would,
3.
so that was actually a recommendation from our therapist, right? So Jess and I will do the
Mm-hmm.
marital counseling once a month, just kind of for upkeep, right? Keep us on level. And the only thing I would suggest, if needed, and we had to do that a little bit in the beginning, was making it shorter. Like, all right, let's hypothetically say there was 50 marbles. Well, it's so far away. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, I've gotten 10 of them and it's been a week. So we cut it in half. Like, understand that doing those things exactly as you said, you get the reward faster,
Mm-hmm.
just so they get the feeling of the result, the end result of
Yeah.
the experience, right?
Yep.
And then maybe pushing it off, right? Now, if he's doing it and doing it pretty quick, or obviously understands what the
Mm-hmm.
reward versus the effort is,
Yeah.
awesome. We had to knock ours down a little bit because that's just taking forever, and we didn't want to
Yeah.
lose the feeling of doing that
Yep.
because the reward is so far out.
Yeah.
So,
I did like 20 pennies, some nickels, some dimes, some quarters, and then the last one is a golden dollar. So once he gets through the pennies, then he's like, "Oh, I'm on to the nickels," and like that kind of gets him then
okay,
re-excited. Where he's like, "I'm on to the nickels now." So it's not
nice.
all the same, and it kind of tricked him, I think, to be like, "I'm gonna get to the nickels." Then we get to nickels, he's like, "I'm gonna get to the dimes,"
Okay,
and then I can teach him about money because obviously money is my other life, but he kind of understands like what's the total value in there that he gets to move over into the bank, and then he gets to pay that amount to go on an experience, and obviously the
okay,
experience is way more than that, but
yeah,
he's starting to get a
that's
little
great. I
knowledge
like
on
that a
it.
lot. That's
But
very cool.
I don't know, all those little tips and tricks, I guess, are they help the kids get a little bit above and beyond of what they the
Totally. I
day
think
to
they're all
day.
little character builders.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep,
Yeah.
definitely.
So I guess what's something that I don't want to say stresses you out, because stress is kind of a tough word, but something that sits on your mind a lot as a dad, a husband, and a business owner. Like if we were to kind of peel back the onion of Sean, like what's actually, top of mind in terms of all those.
Yeah, I mean, directly related to the kids, I'm still a little bit of a yeller.
Mm-hmm.
So, as much as I have to think about not being reactionary, once in a while, it's like I yell.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's something that I need to control my emotions. Like if my 4-year-old and 6-year-old aren't, why would a 40-year-old not be able to? Right? So, conscious of it, but yet a hypocrite about it because I still do it once in a while, right? And it's just like enough's enough, like I've asked 6 times to do something, and then it like perks them up.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely need to go at that a little differently or figure something out regarding that
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
That's such a tough one because I do the same thing, and I've started to get down on like Sawyer's level, and like I'll kneel next to him and just be like, Dad doesn't like having to tell you 6 times to do something, right? And he's like, yeah, I know. And I'm like, you absolutely hate when I have to ask you so many different times. He'll literally turn to me and like, Dad, stop asking me. I said, sorry, what else am I supposed to do if we need to leave the house for school? We're already 5 minutes late. Like, how else do you want me to ask you or tell you? And he'll tell me and be like, well, you should remind me. And I'm like, I did. For the last 15 minutes, I did a 5-minute countdown to when we needed to leave.
Yeah.
So it is. I don't know the perfect way to do it. I'm like, I gave you warnings, but
Now, I've
school
never
doesn't
done
wait
this,
for you.
right? So I've never done this yet, but I'll let you be the guinea pig if you want to try this, because you've got one, so we'll see how it goes. And I too, actually think it was another Jordan Peterson one. He was asking a guy on a podcast or in a YouTube video he was doing. He goes, "Are your kids how old?" He goes, "Okay, well, let's say Sawyer, right? I'm 7. Can your kid put his own shoes on?" Yes. Can he put his jacket on? Yes. Can he make his own cold lunch for school? Yes. Does he know what time he needs to be out of the house by with you? So just sort of know the time, like he knows all that stuff. He's capable of doing all that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He's like, if he doesn't do those things, like you don't even say anything anymore. It's like, oh, it's 8:15. You're supposed to be at school at 8. Like you literally then take him to school late
Yeah.
to deal with the repercussions of his actions and
Mm-hmm.
responsibilities to learn that way. Now, I haven't done that. I'm like, all right, my kids are capable.
I
My
know.
6-year-old, my 4-year-old, look, we still kind of gotta push them a little bit.
Yeah.
But he's like, yeah, they're capable, and they understand time. They understand their responsibilities in the morning and the routine to get out the door.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't do it, they don't do it. But then they
Yeah.
have to deal with the repercussions of not doing it and doing it on time. So
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I like that.
I do too.
Because everyone coddles their kids. Like,
I know.
I'll put my daughter's shoes on. She's well capable of putting her own shoes
I
on,
know.
right?
Uh-huh.
So
Yep.
it's like maybe being a little hands off. So I'll lean on you for that one. If you want to try that out for a week, Jake, see see how it works out.
I swear I am to the point where I'm about to with that, because I was literally just telling Julie this morning I was packing his lunch, and it's different for Sawyer. Like there's, if we don't pack the lunch, he can't have lunch at school. He's gluten free, so he can't have anything ever that school has. So we've got to pack kind of a special lunch for him. But he knows what all that stuff is here. And I was just telling her, I'm like, I'm so tired of packing lunches in the morning. Like Sawyer gets up, he puts his clothes on, brushes his teeth, comes down, type of thing. But I think at night I'm gonna have him start packing lunches, maybe
The night before.
with me to start the night before,
Mm-hmm.
and be like, hey, if you wanna watch 15 minutes of TV before you go to school, like the lunch has to be made, so let's do it the night before. And then when you come down from waking up in the morning, I might try that.
Yeah, because how many times would it take?
Goes.
How many times would it take for him to go to school without lunch before he's like, "This is bullshit"? Like, I am starving.
I don't know if he would care. He just talks during lunch to his friends, and like we'll open his lunch and he'll eat like 4 things out of it.
Okay.
I'm like, dude, I could send you to school without a lunch and he'd probably be fine.
I think eventually he wouldn't be though.
He would eventually, without the snack piece in the lunch, the little cookie or a little
yeah.
little piece of chocolate we put in there for him as his dessert snack. He would start to get upset.
Yeah, give it a shot, man. Let me know how it goes.
Yeah, I'll definitely see. So what's one piece of advice that you would leave with dads, like that you thought was really important for you guys?
The thing that I most recently committed to was making time for me and my wife.
Yep.
Because
the importance of
dad. Yeah, so for me it was the morning, right? That was my 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. Like, that's my time. I have no distractions. I can drive to the gym. It's a 10-minute drive. It just gives me the mental clarity. And also, like, you don't want to be confused. Like, yeah, it's great you go to the gym to stay fit, but it's also as much of a mental clarity as it is physical benefit, right? So that's huge. Like, if you're not in the right state of mind, both with your kids and your wife, how do they expect you to be there with a clear head, focused, not frustrated, coming in with distractions to their world, right?
Mhm.
That was my biggest aha moment of creating the time for me,
Yeah.
being, I don't say being selfish, because I'm not taking away anything from them,
Yep.
because literally they're all sleeping, including my wife. It was just being consistent and devoted to doing it. And it
Mhm.
was tough, but now it's like I feel guilty. Like if I don't, I have this air of like, oh man, like I let myself down. Like I promised myself I would do this and stay consistent to it. And then still dating my wife is I'd say probably for sure once a month, if not every other week, my wife and I will have a date night, even if
Mhm.
it's for an hour or going out to dinner for a couple of hours, is having her and I time.
Mhm.
So we are on the same page. We can have adult conversations. We can be, playful ourselves, right? Like we can
Yeah.
just still be us and not
Yep.
be completely engulfed in life and work and the kids stuff. So that was the me, that was the for us. And for the kids, I think again, just keeping them committed to their schedules, challenging them and pushing them to be
Mhm.
always become better. And again, the big thing for me, and it specifically relates to their sports, and I try to for school, but I'm pretty hands off when it comes to school because they don't bring homework home yet.
Yeah.
But it's again, if you're going to do anything, the one thing you can control is the effort. I want you to try as hard as you can in everything you do.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
those are my big ahas. I'm sure I'll have more. I hope I have more as I
Yeah.
continue to grow and get older myself. But it's a learning process, man.
Yeah. No, I love that. So last thing, and I wanted to intertwine this into all my podcasts because I think it's kind of fun to see where everyone kind of answers this. But what does being a father figure mean to you? Like if you had to sum it up, what does being a father figure mean to you?
Oh man, it's changed me so much. It's humbling. Like you own and you build kids, right? Like those are
Mhm.
yours. That's your responsibility, and your kids are a direct reflection of you.
Mhm.
So it is my duty and my responsibility now as a father and a parent to create a legacy from the children that I have
Mhm.
that become good humans. They become people who contribute to their society and bring value to not only other people, but their jobs or their friends or their significant others. So it holds a great responsibility that I put on myself to make sure that I do my job, that they become the best that they can be. And and in doing all of that is having fun with them. Like I really want them to experience stuff, to travel with them, right? To take them into the wilderness with hunting and fishing, to experience things, to get outside of the bubble, which I know, which they know, to immerse themselves in different aspects of life.
Yeah.
So yeah, it really does. I mean, I don't want to say it's a burden by any means, but it's a huge responsibility to raise a good kid.
Yeah.
And I'm very conscientious of that. And I hope that one day, um, I don't know who it was that had said it, but it's like, hey, how do you look at yourself when you've got adult children as a success? And his response, and I'm like, I like this, was when you have adult children, if they want to spend time with you, if they seek you out, like, hey, you want to hang out? Like, hey, you want to like pick up a phone call and just like chat, catch up? You want to spend time with your parents because now you guys are friends? I see that as 100% success.
Mhm. I can't remember where I heard that too. It was we listened to all the same people. I can't remember who said that as well, but when you brought that back up there, that was one of those things too that I remember hearing. I was like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be
Yeah. So when
sweet
our
when it's like, you're 70 years old or 60 years old and your adult kids are like, hey, we're gonna pop over for a bit.
Yeah, our
Like,
buddies, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing it was 9 years ago now. My dad and I, well, so it was four of my buddies and I, so it's five of us. and our dad. So there's 10 of us total. And we all went to Alaska. And it was such a cool experience. And it was a hunting trip slash fishing trip. And even besides that, just the logistics and the travel and just the experience we got to share with our other buddies and their dads was awesome. And
Yeah.
it's experiences and memories like that that I want to consistently build and create with my wife and with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, in one day, hopefully, 20 years from now, they're reaching out and saying, "Hey, Dad, like, what do you think? You want to go on a trip, or you want to do this together?" I'd be ecstatic.
Yeah.
I'd be a very proud father.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's great. Yeah, you got a lot going on with 3 kids, a good marriage, and then 27 work kids that you guys are building there on the business side too. I know that's just an added stress, but it seems like you guys do a really good job of kind of setting your you time, like we talked about in the beginning. Seems like that's a very important piece to keeping the home relationships and building up the confidence in the kids, showing the kids that dad doesn't need to work until 8 o'clock at night. Like, you're important. You have my time. And then being efficient during the workday to get your
right,
stuff done so that you don't have this nagging guilt
yeah.
sitting
But
around in the
sometimes too,
afternoon.
it's sometimes like if dad has to work till late at night, like
Mm-hmm.
that's okay too,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Like there are responsibilities and things that need to get done, and if that's what your work life demands, then
Mm-hmm.
so be it. As long as it doesn't take over other aspects of your life, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Again, like you talked
so
about, it's important for them to see the hard work,
100% agree.
right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Can't hand them everything. No, I love it.
Yeah.
Well, this has been an awesome conversation.
It has. Yeah. Thanks, man. I
I
appreciate you
think
picking up this call. You
I think we
betcha.
covered a lot of stuff. So I'll stop it here and we can hang on here for a minute afterwards. But I appreciate you hopping on. With the business stuff, where can everybody kind of find you or follow you? You post some awesome stuff online of just like family work stuff. I
Yeah.
enjoy watching them all.
So
So
that's been my newest commitment. I actually hired a personal coach this year, for a work coach to
yeah,
assist me in getting better, right?
yep,
Is committing to self-improvement. And that was the biggest thing, was creating content and creating videos, and which I was very uncomfortable with, but I've been very consistent with it. So I've been doing my
yep.
part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you guys can find me. The company is Excel Experts, or excelexperts.com. We're based out of Southeast Wisconsin. Here again, my name is Sean Lentz. So that's me, and that's where you can find me.
Lovely. Lovely. Well, perfect. Everyone take care and enjoy the time, and we'll catch you on the next one. See
Thanks,
ya.
Jake. Appreciate it, man.